All right, very good afternoon, everyone. How you doing out there? Thursday? Yeah, all right, party crowd. All right, my name is Alan Formansky. I'm a solutions architect within the Citrix Strategic Alliances team. I'd like to welcome you all to our session here today, SYN232, More Than One Way to VDI. It's part 7 in our Geek's Guide to the Workspace. I'm joined by Mayank and Jim. Gentlemen, some quick intros.
Hi, I'm Mayank. I am a tech marketing architect with the tech marketing team here. I've been working with Citrix for over 7 years and in the industry for 12. And we've got Jim.
Hey, my name is Jim Moyle. I'm a current CTP, and I used to work for FS Logics, and they got acquired by Microsoft, so I'm now an accidental Microsoft employee.
All right, thanks, guys. There you have it. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter as well. And where are those Twitter fans out there? Yeah, it's like 4, and like one guy really excited in the back there. All right. Well, if you do want to tweet about our session, please use these hashtags, Citrix Synergy, Geek's Guide to the Workspace, and the unique one for us, More Than One Way to VDI. All right, so previously on the Geek's Guide to the Workspace, you took a look at endpoint device management, right? Policies and control for these types of devices. Who was at the previous session? All right, that's awesome. Who's been to all the Geek's Guide sessions thus far? You guys rock. That's amazing to see. So for our session here today, we'll be taking a look at virtual apps and desktops as part of the overall workspace solution. And this will be inclusive of the Citrix Managed Desktops offering. You might have heard a thing or two about that recently. Along with the traditional virtual apps and desktops, the virtual apps and desktop service powered by Citrix Cloud, and Windows Virtual Desktop and the Microsoft offering, and how these all fit together and the fact that they're not mutually exclusive, as we'll see. All right, so let's dive right in here. Now, I think you all agree that life is about choices, right? Now, some choices are pretty tasty, like what donut you want to go with. And I know we just had lunch, but wow, I'm kind of getting a craving for a sweet. I think the one on the top right looks the most delicious to me. Or what paint color do you want to paint a room in your house? And you know, I was actually at the paint store recently, and they have such colors out there now as newborn baby, tornado season, and dead salmon. I mean, who would be like, come on, honey, let's paint the kitchen a nice shade of dead salmon, right? See how that goes over with your wife. So we have decisions to make, right, in life. In fact, when you think about it, each one of you has made a number of choices that brought you to our very session here today, right? Think about it. You all chose a career in information technology or some related discipline, perhaps business, information systems. You all chose to be part of the Citrix ecosystem, or maybe your company or your manager chose for you. In either case, welcome, glad to have you. You chose to be part of Citrix Synergy and learn about the future of work and make meaningful connections. This is a shot of actually last year's Expo Hall, and I hope you all have had a chance to go out there and chat with some of the partners we have and learn about the latest solutions. And then you decided to come to our session, which, yeah, I know I'm partial, but I think that's a very good decision to learn about VDI and what options you have available for your organization. And even in this room, you decided where to sit. And you know, it's always interesting because you always kind of get, you know, most of you sitting out towards the sides and the back. And so thank you, gents, for sitting up front. Appreciate that. I think Bill Gates puts it well when he states that life has a tendency to just happen, but it happens because we make choices. The life you create and design for yourself is going to really accumulate from those choices you make over time, right? Now, choosing to do VDI with Citrix, that is a very good choice, right? We're an industry leader. We have a passionate focus on user experience technologies. But I'd like to walk you all through 4 of the key options of how you can take apps and desktops and incorporate public cloud in some form or fashion. Okay, so let's walk through them here. The first is extending, right? So you can take your traditional virtual apps and desktops deployment that you have on premise, and you might have had on premise for a number of years, and then you extend it, or you create one or more catalogs in a public cloud, such as Azure. All right, so this is managed by IT. Now, the second option, which is actually quite popular, is to deploy an entirely self-contained environment for virtual apps and desktops within a public cloud such as Azure, right? So this is inclusive of setting up your Active Directory, right, SQL, and all the components that comprise that environment for you. The third option is leveraging cloud services. So the virtual apps and desktop service in Citrix Cloud, right? So that cloud-based management plane where you can connect to one or more resource locations in public clouds, private clouds, or the data centers of your choice. So in this case, we're showing that with Azure. And then the last option is a newer option. This is the Citrix Managed Desktops, or what we're calling the DaaS option, or Desktops as a Service. Okay, so this is a real easy turnkey solution to quickly deliver desktops and virtual apps from the Azure cloud. Right, so Jim and Mayank will talk to us a little bit more about those cloud options that we have. Now, what kinds of resources can we make available? Well, at Citrix, we pride ourselves in the broadest array of choices. And I imagine many of you are familiar with these choices here, right? From traditional virtual machines, server OS, we've got desktop OS, we've got physical PCs that users need to connect to, right, in the office. But for today's session, we're going to be focusing more so on the ones you see in gray here. And that is the traditional shared Windows desktop or hosted shared. We have the pooled Windows desktop, right, coming from a desktop operating system, pooled. And we have the personal Windows desktop, or what you might consider as dedicated. All right, so those are the three main options that we're going to be focusing on in our session. Let's jump right into a demo and take a look at the user experience. So this is the Citrix Workspace experience, and hopefully it's not new to all of you. We're signing in as a user. And of course, Workspace experience brings together all the best that the user needs to be productive, right? So not just apps and desktops, but also content and other capabilities. And we're going to proceed to launch a Windows 10 desktop. Now, my question to all of you, right, something I'd like you to think through as we go through our presentation here, is how is this being delivered, right? So is this being delivered from Windows Virtual Desktop plus the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service? Or is it being delivered by the Citrix Managed Desktop offering? Perhaps it's being delivered by traditional Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops. Okay, so there's a number of ways that we can deliver desktops and applications to our users. But at the end of the day, guys, from the user perspective, it doesn't matter, right? Because the user is ultimately going to get a great experience. They're going to be productive. They're going to have everything that they need to do their work. All right, so we're here in the Windows desktop interface. What we're going to do is we're actually going to just drill into system properties to take a closer peek, and that'll actually reveal the answer to us. This is a Windows 10 Enterprise VM that's running up in Azure. So this is actually Windows Virtual Desktop, and it's being delivered or brokered through the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service. Okay, so just something to, again, kind of think about the different options we have. We're going to be drilling into these options now in greater detail. So to kick us off with the first option on Windows Virtual Desktop, I'm going to hand it over to Jim.
Thank you very much.
I don't think that.
Yep. Does this one work?
No.
We'll take that one.
Yep.
Fine. So, who's heard of Windows Virtual Desktop? Put your hand up. Yay! You're all excellent people. So, Windows Virtual Desktop is Microsoft's desktop as a service running solely in Azure. Okay? Turnkey solution. It will support, as you're going to hear, Windows 10 MultiSession, but it also supports Windows 10 Single Session, Windows 7 Single Session, and that will come with 3 years of free extended support. It also supports server OSs as well, so 2012 and up. If you want to do 2008 R2, then you need to talk to these guys over here. It's got some excellent optimizations for Office 365 Pro Plus. Some of those optimizations have come along with Microsoft's acquisition of FSLogix, and some of you may be familiar with the capabilities there. But it's not just that. So the Office team is now getting much more serious about a stateless desktop. And there is a lot of interesting optimizations that we've already seen, for instance, the per machine installation of OneDrive and Teams. But there's lots more coming down to help all of us who do desktop virtualization and want to serve up Office as a workload. You can do templated OSs, or you can bring your own image as well. So if you have your own pre-configured image that you have fed and watered over the years and suits your needs, that's no problem. You can use that as the golden image in Windows Virtual Desktop 2. It wouldn't be a slide about cloud if it didn't say deploy and scale in minutes, right? But Microsoft Azure has more points of presence than their two competitors combined, and we'll be rolling out the Windows Virtual Desktop control plane across the globe very quickly after GA. If you think all of this sounds very exciting, you can try it now. Okay? This is in public preview. You can log on. You can associate this with your subscription, and you can give it a go. You can see how Windows 10 MultiSession fits for you, and you can see how Azure fits for you. Let's dig into Windows 10 MultiSession a little bit more. So on the one side here, you have a server OS, very static, not a lot of change. But it's very, very good in terms of resource utilization because you can do multiple users on a single OS. Supports Win32 apps. Probably a good solution right now for that is Office 2019 Perpetual rather than Pro Plus. And of course, it's LTSC. The big advantage over this side is that resource consumption. On the other side, we've got Windows 10 Enterprise. Single user, supports, again, Windows 32 apps, but it supports the other apps as well. So you can get Edge. We've all been looking forward to getting Edge. No? OK. Maybe something a little bit more exciting is the Windows Store. You can now get Windows Store apps. But also, it's very, very compatible. All right? Everybody's had that occasion where you've tried to install something that your users need, and you get that error saying, I'm sorry, we don't install on a server. We take the best of both worlds and combine them into Windows 10 MultiSession, only available on Azure. All right. Just have a quick look at, if you go and have a go at the public preview, right now, you search the Azure Marketplace. It will be part of the normal resources by GA. And we can see we find Windows Virtual Desktop in the Marketplace. And if you've ever used Azure, you'll know that there's going to be a couple of questions in what we call blades. We connected up to Azure AD. Azure AD will give you all the contextual and multi-factor authentication that you're used to. Right now, the public preview is in US East 2. You can see there we've got a Windows 10 MultiSession or a custom image, which is exactly what I talked about before. And it will give you some kind of rough sizing based on how many users and what workload. But if you want, you can pick any VM at all in the Azure ecosystem, including N series, which will give you NVIDIA GPU accelerated desktops. We also need to connect it up to an AD domain because we need some computer accounts for your servers. We need a network and pick a subnet. Nothing too hard so far. And then we hit go. And that's it. The only thing left to do is a small PowerShell command to assign users to that pool of VMs. And you will now be able to log on and use Windows 10 MultiSession. So if you are interested, then absolutely. There's some resources at the end of the slides where you can go and have a look at all the things I've just shown you. I'm going to hand over to Mayank now.
Thank you. So what we've seen when Alan showcased this. So you could use the same Windows Virtual Desktop that Jim showcased, created in Azure, and then be able to pull it into a Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service solution and be able to manage it from there. So you've got the VM, and you can do everything else from Citrix. So this is the simple architecture of it. So you've got your association between Active Directory and Azure Active Directory. The tenant is coming from MultiSession, and it just needs a cloud connector available inside of it, and you connect to Windows Virtual Desktop Service, and you're off to the races. You've got MCS enabled cloning. You can have all of the Citrix management be applied to the same application, to the same OS, right? So the next option that you have is Citrix Managed Desktops. What is Citrix Managed Desktops? It is the simple turnkey solution. We're using Windows Virtual Desktops in the background. You create the image that you need, or you can use the existing image that we have, and we give you a single bill. So Citrix will bill you for your Azure consumption as well as all the Citrix services that we provide, and all you need to do is tell us what size of VM you want, how many users, and that's it. You're off to the races, nothing to be done. And the most important thing is everything comes are pre-built. So let's see what the admin experience. Okay, one quick slide before that. The key features of what is available in the managed desktops. I'm not going to talk through each of them, but the most important things that are there on the slide are non-domain join machines are possible. So you can have a solution where you don't join the domain for any of the users. You can also have multi-factor authentication using Azure MFA, as well as we're going to be providing third-party IDP providers that will be able to authenticate to these machines. And you get all the cool stuff like image builder. You can update your machines automatically. Everything is going to be part of that. And you get analytics as well as monitoring into those machines. So let's take a quick look at the admin experience on how you would, as an admin, be able to do with Citrix Managed Desktops. All right, so if you go into Citrix Cloud, you click Manage Desktops. It'll open up the Citrix Managed Desktops admin console. Here you'll be listing a set of catalogs that are available to you that can be used as machines that are going to be delivered to your users. On the top right, you have a list of master images that are already up there, and you can also add your own, or you can build an image as inside of it itself. So if you click on one of those, it will give you the list of machines that the catalogs that is being consumed inside of, as well as where the machines are. You can look at the user access authentication, as well as it will list you the workspace URL that is going to be available in, as well as the network that is available for this particular catalog. Now, let's say you want to create a new catalog. What do you need to do? It gives you a simple UI where all the things that are there are you need to select the OS, you need to tell us how many VMs, network, and figure out the size of the image that you want, right? Simple drop downs, not too confusing, just click and you're through. If you want it even simpler, then you can simply go to quick create. It just gives you the bare minimum things that you need to tell us to have the VMs running, and we will do everything else for you in the background. All right, so after you've created the catalog, you need to go and add subscribers. It's a simple mechanism where you click Manage Subscribers. Your AD is already connected in. It will give you a place where you can search for the users. It's a simple AD search. Connect those users to that catalog, and you're done. Similarly, we give you a listing of all the details of the image itself. The details page is there. It tells you which desktops and apps it's associated with. We can tell you which machines are there, as well as you can do power management right out of here. So we do auto scaling inside of the simple console itself. And then how do you monitor these machines? It's another click, and you get a list of the machines that are running, what are the concurrent sessions. Everything is simply available. If you go and hover over any one of these particular things, you'll get the list of concurrent sessions as well as what machines are being used, peak concurrent sessions and the list. On the top right, you get, if you click on the desktop launch activity, you get for the last month a CSV file which contains all of the activity of the set of users. And that's as simple as that. So you've got the management and as well as the monitoring inside of it, and that's all you need to know as an admin to be able to deliver managed desktops to your users. So I said managed desktops, right? You can also do just apps. So it's not a solution that gives you only machines. You can also have just apps available to your users. All right. So you'd be at this point in time asking what is the value add for Citrix to Windows Virtual Desktop and any of the other solutions. This is a list. It's not exhaustive, of course, but we provide the HTX technologies that are available, so any thin client can connect to any of these Azure resources, and you should be able to still have the best user experience possible. We optimize Teams by Skype as well as do SD-WAN optimizations for Office Pro Plus. It's got advanced monitoring through Director. You've got machine creation services. Everything to app layering is available, as well as all of the analytics pieces will come into play as soon as you move to a workspace service. Right? And the most important thing is that it's hybrid. It's a choice for you. You can have desktops that are there, your resources at your on-premises solution as well as in Azure, and be able to manage everything in one place. So quickly going over the options that are available as part of a Citrix managed Citrix value add. You've got Citrix managed desktops, turnkey solution. All you need to do is tell us how many VMs, what size, and you get machines available to you to be able to deliver to users. You want to have more flexibility. You want to be able to have the ability to do more with the capabilities of the virtual desktop service that's available. And if you want to give them the full workspace experience that we showcased in the keynote, then you can always use the Citrix Workspace experience, which is Premium Plus and with Gateway as well. So how many of you know this? You already know it, right? I don't have to talk about it. All right, no, we'll just take a quick look at what it is. So Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, the on-premise solution, is a solution which you have as for these many years you've been using. You've got users that connect through devices, pass an ADC into a storefront, and you are managing the studio, the director, as well as the database itself. And then the resources, all of it is either on-prem or in the cloud, and you as the IT admin are managing all of that, right? So what is new, what is different now? So the one thing that we've added is site aggregation. What we've given you is the ability to have the workspace experience be extended to all of those people who have only on-premises deployments. Do we want to have all of your users have the ability to have the great feature set that we're providing through the workspace? And that is why we've added the site aggregation feature is here. How many of you guys attended the first session? So did you, I mean, Dan would have gone through the whole process of how to do that, and I would not be going into it as much. The important thing to note is that you can buy any Citrix service, and then you'll have the ability to be able to get your on-premise users have the Citrix Workspace experience. Now, I'm going to have Alan come back and talk to you about the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service.
All right. Thanks for that, Mayank. So the Virtual Apps and Desktop Service in Citrix Cloud. Who's taken a look at that at some point? OK, awesome. Very cool. Well, before we take a look at that, let's again show the slide that Mayank showed to really recap what a traditional virtual apps and desktop deployment entails of, right? You've got your different layers, the user layer, the access layer, control layer, your resources. And so this is great. It's proven at scale. But from an IT perspective, you're managing all these components, right? And that sort of can take away a little bit from the resources that you're trying to deliver, right? The apps and desktops. So with Citrix Cloud, we offload the management plane, right? The access layer, the control layer. And at Citrix, we manage that. We keep it evergreen. So you can focus more on the strategic parts of what you're delivering, right? The actual apps and desktops and your workloads. So you can see here on the access layer, you've got that workspace experience, which is really like a a much more comprehensive version of the traditional storefront that's available in the cloud with many more capabilities. The gateway service, that's really an on-demand HDX proxy, very turnkey solution that's highly scalable. We have, of course, the control layer, the virtual apps and desktop service itself, handling the brokering functionality and connectivity. And then at your resource locations, which can be public cloud or private, right, or data center, we have a component known as the Cloud Connector. Right? So the Cloud Connector is a lightweight installation on a server-based operating system that provides that secure port 443 outbound connectivity to the Citrix Cloud management plane. And it lets you focus on your business elements more. Now, if you're looking to do hybrid cloud, one of the best solutions that I can recommend to you is taking advantage of appliances that have been validated through our Citrix Ready program. We have a program known as a Citrix Workspace Appliance program with vendors such as Cisco, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Nutanix, Lenovo, Flexible IT, StoreMagic, and others. These vendors have worked with us to certify their solutions with Citrix Cloud, specifically the virtual apps and desktop service, so you can deploy hybrid cloud solutions literally within hours. You're racking and stacking this gear, and each one has a simple wizard-driven interface that allows you to onboard that hardware, that infrastructure at a given resource location and communicate up to Citrix Cloud and start provisioning resources. So this is literally, it's ridiculously easy to do. And many choices available depending on different brand preferences and other value adds that these vendors provide. And they're hyperconverged solutions. So you're going to get everything all in one, right? Your CPU, your storage, networking, it's ready to go. Now let's take a quick look at the virtual apps and desktop service, right? We're going to sign in here to Citrix Cloud. Keep in mind that we have the cloud-based management plane available in 3 geographies, Americas, EMEA, and Asia Pac. So these are the various tiles that we have in Citrix Cloud. And we're going to drill into the virtual apps and desktop service. Now, if you've been managing virtual apps and desktops on premises for a number of years, right, it's going to be familiar because we have that web-based studio console, the web-based monitoring console, right, the equivalent of Director. But we like to point out some key things here, right? So we're coming in under the managed area, and for machine catalogs, you'll notice again that Windows 10 MultiSession. Okay, so that's being delivered, of course, from Azure, and you've got all the familiar properties and controls and policies that you can use to further define the environment for your users, in addition to all the other resources and conditions that you would typically define for your workforce. All right, so we have the machine catalogs and we have the delivery groups of how we're making that assignment out to our users. You can see the relevant versioning information here and different parameters. And now we're going to take a look at the hosting, right? So how do we define the host connections, which can be to public clouds or traditional hypervisors? And then lastly, the monitor tab, right? So what does the session performance look like? How can we take action on user sessions, right? So it's all familiar to you if you've been using it traditionally on premises, or if you're net new, very intuitive to really get up to speed with it. All right, so we've kind of set the stage here, right? And we've taken a look at the different options that are available, inclusive of Windows Virtual Desktop. We took a look at Citrix Managed Desktops, the traditional virtual apps and desktops, and the virtual apps and desktop service in Citrix Cloud. So that begs the question, right? Which one should I use? And to answer that, it's really simple, guys. It depends. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I mean, it kind of does depend, but I'll give you 1 point better. So this is kind of what I call the money slide. Hint, hint. You'll get access to the slide deck as well. But we've tried to really distill down some of the key decision points for you as you think through which solution you'd want to go with for a particular project. And again, I can't reiterate enough, they're not mutually exclusive, right? You can bring together several offerings and provide that single pane of glass for your end users. So as we mentioned earlier, domain joined workloads. If you're not working with domain joined workloads, right, no AD and you don't plan to, then take a look at managed desktops, right? So some of you might have recalled we had a previous solution, right, VDI in a box that also didn't do, or you could use it without Active Directory. So if that's a consideration point, managed desktops. Next consideration point, are you working with only cloud resources? And to go one level deeper, is it Azure, AWS, Google, or another cloud? Is it Win 10 or Server 2016, right? If you're answering yes to those, then again, managed desktops might be something that you'd want to take a look at. Now, coming down one click lower here, are certifications relevant to you and your organization, right? So things like 508, Common Criteria, and FIPS. If they're not, and you're not doing AppV or SCCM integration, and you want more control, then take advantage of the virtual apps and desktop service on Citrix Cloud, right? That would be our recommendation. If that is relevant to you, then traditional Citrix virtual apps and desktops. All right, so some key decision points here. And another thing I'll mention, which isn't even included on this slide, is if simple monthly billing and monthly subscription is relevant to you, the managed desktop offering is the only offering direct from Citrix that'll provide that capability, okay? So that's something worth thinking about. Here's an even simpler version, right? So this is very simple. And from our perspective, we'd suggest that you take a look at managed desktops, right? If nothing else, evaluate it, consider it, see if it meets your needs. If you need more control, you need more features, something a little more robust from what the managed desktop solution will provide, then take a look at virtual apps and desktop service in Citrix Cloud. And if you have specific requirements, then you can take advantage of traditional Citrix virtual apps and desktops. All right? So at this point, let's go ahead and talk through some use cases, right? Some actual customers and scenarios. So for use case number one, we have a small grocery chain. Now, this grocery chain just has a few locations. They're working with SaaS apps. They're a Windows-based shop. They don't really have much infrastructure. They have primarily IT generalists, not specialists. And so for them, the Citrix managed desktop solution works well. Again, keeping in mind, we can deliver not just desktops, but also applications, okay? Now, moving on, we have a regional electronics chain. Okay, so this electronics chain has more locations than the grocery store we looked at earlier. They have a need to deliver both apps and desktops. However, they have some software and infrastructure that's located at each one of these stores, okay, at the retail presence. So with that being said, the best option for them is the virtual apps and desktop service. And in doing so, as the company grows, they can quickly onboard new stores with something like the Citrix Workspace appliance that I talked about earlier, right? Those quick turnkey hyperconverged solutions. And then lastly, we'll take a look at a large healthcare system. So this large healthcare system, of course, they also have apps and they have desktops. Certainly performance is a concern, though they also need to ensure that they adhere to different regulatory considerations, and they want to have full control of their backend databases with their DBA. All right, so for this particular customer, they decided to go with the traditional Citrix virtual apps and desktops. All right, so again, a number of options here, and this is another great slide that really breaks it down by management, right? So on the far left, like we saw in the other diagrams, when you have traditional Citrix virtual apps and desktops, that's going to be IT and or partner managed, right? So that's all blue, from user layer, resources, access, and control. You move one step further, and the virtual apps and desktop service allows us at Citrix to manage many of those management plane components for you. You go one step even further, and the Citrix managed desktops, even more turnkey, and you're effectively just assigning your users and your resources. And the other option, which we didn't talk about too much, but always worth considering, is our extensive Citrix service provider ecosystem, okay, where they can basically take on everything and meet the unique challenges of your organization. All right, so it's all about options, right? You saw it in the keynote. At Citrix, we heavily believe in choice, and that holds true when it comes to virtual app and desktop delivery. All right, so Mayank, shall we go ahead and wrap this up now, and then we'll have some time for Q&A?
Sure. So we've looked at all the different options that were available to you as part of the way to do VDI. We've got We've got Citrix Managed Desktops. We've got the virtual apps and desktops itself on-premise. We've got the virtual apps and desktop service, as well as we've got Windows Virtual Desktop that can be integrated using the Windows in the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service. Now, these are not something that you need to figure out as different things. It just depends on where you are and what you want to do with them, and you can have more than one option available to you. Like using Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service, you'll be able to have on-premise deployments as well as in the cloud, as well as be able to extend whenever you need to public clouds as well. So, like I said, Citrix has the most diverse set of capabilities and the most number of VDI offerings. It's not mutually exclusive, and we would like to say try out Citrix Managed Desktops first. If that's something that is what is giving you all the things that you need, then great. Otherwise, we can always set up everything inside of the virtual desktop service.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff, Mayank. And you guys will have access to this deck afterwards, but we just wanted to include some relevant links for you, such as the various feature matrices, which compare the offerings that we have, learning more about the Windows Virtual Desktop, as well as trying out the virtual apps and desktop service in Citrix Cloud. All right, so you'll have access to all these links. And who here knows about TechZone? Okay. And for the rest of you, consider yourself known. Citrix TechZone is the go-to resource for all things technical and Citrix. We've got fantastic reference architectures, tech papers, tools, deep dives, and much, much more with a very, very active roadmap. And we've got some cool stickers if you guys want. Feel free to come up to the stage at the conclusion of our session. But honestly, we encourage you to not only check out the content here, but please take the time to provide us some comments on the documents that we have here. What's working? What would you like to see more of? We're really here for you, and we want to ensure that you're successful with your Citrix virtual app and desktop solutions. And in the next episode of the Geek's Guide to the Workspace, you'll be taking a look at collaboration and things like workflows, as well as Slack and Microsoft Teams. All right, so again, part of the overall workspace, and as we build out a comprehensive story for delivering all these resources. Now, that's going to be right back here, Part 8, SYN232. All right, so we encourage you to stay around for that one. The conference surveys will be available. Please do take a moment to fill those out. You'll be able to watch sessions such as this one and others on demand, and be able to download all the great presentations from the event here. Now, we encourage you all to please just rate the session. Let us know what you thought about the content here today. It does take a considerable amount of time to put everything together, and we want to ensure that we're delivering the best possible, most relevant content to our attendees. So you can do that in the mobile app. And with that said, on behalf of myself, Alan, and Mayank, and Jim, again, we'd like to thank you for joining us for a session here today. We hope you found the content informative, and we have a few minutes for Q&A. If you'd like, please come up to one of the mics here. It'd be our pleasure to answer your questions. But thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you at the party later tonight. All right, any questions? Feel free to come on up to the mic. And again, we have these stickers, pretty cool TechZone stickers here at the stage.
And one last thing before you go, there is a guide that I have built. I've written, it's basically a deployment guide for using the Windows Virtual Desktop's public preview with the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service. If you move a couple of slides back, we've got that link in there as well, so you could go to the web page and be able to get the deployment guide and try it out today.